Hey guys, and welcome to Big Rob's Little Podcast. I'm Robbie Diltz, and I am back from my summer-long hiatus, where I was extremely busy and was not able to get podcasts done over the summer. But I feel on this first podcast back, I have to have a huge special guest, and that is none other than the walking weapon, Josh Alexander. So, welcome.
Thank you.
And first of all, tell me a little bit about yourself. For example, how did you get started in this business we know and love called wrestling, and what you do outside of wrestling?
I got into professional wrestling because I lived in the middle of nowhere. I didn't have cable or anything. There was no internet back then. And my mom brought home a wrestling magazine, and it had Tyson and Stone Cold Steve Austin on the cover, hyping up WrestleMania 14.
Nice.
And uh, that magazine hooked me. I had to rent every VHS tape I could get from Jumbo Video after that and seek out wrestling everywhere I could.
Perfect.
You know, eventually I found a school and trained, and here I am 13 years later almost. And outside of wrestling, I'm a guy who listens to podcasts. I like movies. I go to the gym. I do stuff that is conducive to my wrestling career. So that's about it.
Fair enough. All right. Next, for the viewers that are either watching us live or will watch later, you were recently at MW1 Port Colborne,
Mm-hmm.
back on the first. For those that missed the show, how do you feel about the match you had with Bia?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I mean, I won.
That is true. What was it? What really was it about Bia that was different from other talent that you've matched up against?
I mean, Bia had the whole crowd behind her there, especially in her hometown, and that always helps. And yeah, she's got a lot of fight in her, you know. And I can't say that for everybody in Ontario, men or women. So
Yeah, that's for sure. And gotta say, it was a pretty great match. I'm glad I got to make it out to MW1 watch. Um, so I hear you have a match coming up at Destiny, and it's for the title. Now, for those that don't know, you're going up against the bruiserweight Pete Dunn. So how have you been preparing for someone as top notch as him?
I've had the luxury of being in the ring with him twice before. Both one was a triple threat match and one was a 6-man tag match.
Nice.
So I kind of know what to expect. And, I'm a fan. I've been watching him for years. Uh, I'm not doing anything out of the ordinary to prepare. I feel like what I've been doing for the past year or two, I just try to outwork everybody else, especially in Canada. And I feel like that's been like all I need to do. So hopefully that's enough because I'm giving it all I got.
Exactly. You got to be the best you can be.
Mm-hmm.
So I talked to my one friend today, and he was mentioning a match you had at Progress. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a 6-man tag or a normal tag match. Tell me about it.
That was the 6-man tag where it was myself and the besties in the world, Davey Vega and Matt Fitchett. They're a hot tag team out in America.
Okay.
We tagged up and we went against British Strong Style, which is Pete Dunn, Trent Severn, and Tyler Bate.
Nice.
Yeah, and Progress in that building in London, it was insane. It's like the PWG of England or whatever comparison you might give it.
Fair enough. Now, I know you recently went to war with a certain individual known as Sami Callihan. Tell me what was going through your brain during that grueling match.
A lot of people would like to think that I would panic or something in that state, but honestly, like the amount of adrenaline that's going through your body when you're in that kind of position, I like it was business as usual for me. Just I couldn't really see through all the blood. It was a violent match, and to watch it back on the GWN network now, it definitely captured that. But I think I showed exactly what I bring to the table, and that's just a lot of heart and effort.
Yeah, for sure. What were your favorite spots during that match?
Ah, I mean, the moonsault off the cage, even though I didn't land on him, was pretty. I don't know if iconic's the word, but like just seeing you see the blood like spray off my head as I land on the ground, and it's just
Yeah,
a great visual. So at least that got captured from everything. It kind of made the drama even more.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that would probably be it.
Fair enough. Thank you. I usually ask every worker that I've ever had on this podcast who they grew up admiring in the business, and I'll do the same with you. Who is your favorite superstar growing up or even now?
Well, I was always a huge like Stone Cold Steve Austin, Bret Hart kind of guy. And then when I started wrestling, I was always a fan of the cruiserweights in WCW, like the Eddie Guerreros, the Dean Malenkos, the Chris Jerichos, all these guys. And when I became a wrestler, I just fell in love with Eddie Guerrero. And I think he's the best wrestler of all time at every single aspect of wrestling. If you were going to take like the attributes in a video game, he would have the most of everything. Him or Shawn Michaels.
Yeah.
Uh, like they could do like any style of wrestling, and that's why like I look up to guys like Eddie Guerrero a lot. Shawn Michaels is obviously amazing. I watch his matches all the time, but like I don't know, man. I kind of watch everything. Like especially right now, I'm a huge fan of pretty much everything New Japan does and everybody that competes there. I don't think like any of them have weak points from like Juice Robinson to Ishii to Naito all the way up. Like it's just an amazing product.
Did you end up getting a chance to watch All In?
I did not, and I
Yeah,
still have
neither have I.
to watch it, but I plan on it. My wife watched it, and she was giving me the cliff notes through text because I had a show that night. So,
Right.
oh yeah, that was the same night, right?
I think so, yeah.
The BM match, yeah.
Yeah. Um, did you end up watching Slammiversary at all? Because I know that can be arguably the best pay-per-view out of 2018 so far that people are saying.
I've heard a
So,
lot of people. I've heard a lot of people say it was the best pay per view of the year, bar none, for like any wrestling company. I was there live, so I had a different perspective on it because I had the Impact tapings the next 2 days.
right.
But yeah, it was crazy. Like there was certain like the atmosphere in that building that night was packed, and there was a spot where in the first match where like things were just getting started, and I don't think anybody knew what to think, and like Johnny Impact, Johnny Mundo, Johnny whatever, he did a 1 foot step in flip from the entrance ramp, landed in the middle of the ring, and then there was this big strike off, and they all had a double down, and like the crowd came unglued, and that I think that set the tone for the rest of the night, really.
Oh, for sure.
From Pentagon and Sammy all the way up to the main event, it was insane.
Yeah, I had to say that was a bit more extreme than WWE's Extreme Rules pay-per-view, obviously, because
No, it's a different
WWE being
product, you know. Some people are PG, some people kind of push the envelope into that mature audience. So
yeah, exactly. So finally, I gotta ask you, what would be your goal in wrestling, and what would one of your dream matches look like?
the ultimate goal
The
would
ultimate goal.
make a living at professional wrestling and support my family and send my two sons to college on wrestling, and that's the dream. But like I don't think it would be in WWE or anything like that. Like I would love to go to Japan. New Japan would be like the ultimate dream, the ultimate realistic dream. And sorry, what was the second part?
What would a dream match of yours look like?
I have a ton of dream matches. Pretty
Okay,
much
name a few if you want then.
all myself against anybody from New Japan.
Right.
What happened yet? Because, like I said, all those guys are untouchable to me. I think Ishii is amazing. He's my favorite heavyweight, bar none. Uh, more local, more possibility. There's so many guys, man. I think me and Will Ospreay would have an insane match. I pair up really well with cruiserweights and lightweights, and a lot of promoters look at me as a heavyweight and they kind of stick me in there with the bigger guys. You know what I mean? And that's fine, but I can move just as fast as all these cruiserweights.
Oh, exactly.
I've looked up to guys like Kurt Angle. If you watch Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio, they opened up SummerSlam in like I think it was like 2002 or something. Kurt Angle's moving just as fast as Rey Mysterio the entire time.
Yeah.
And, like that's always been something like that I took with me and I wanted to kind of incorporate into my game. So like I've grown up in wrestling for these 13 years, wrestling some of the fastest high flyers in the business, and I think that's a dream match for me for sure.
Awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for taking the time to do this interview. And I hope to see you at another event sometime soon.
Yeah, do you go to any other events in your area?
Um, I'm going to Border Town on the 29th in Fort Erie.
Yeah.
Sometimes I hit Crossfire, but not lately. CWF. I want to try and make it to some Alpha One shows in Hamilton and all that.
Yeah, for sure. We have a couple eye pay-per-views coming up.
I will hopefully try and see if I can watch them.
I wrestled one of my first shows in St. Catharines for, I think it's RCW. Is that still a thing?
Not that I'm aware of.
Chuck Sims was the promoter. Great dude. Gave me an opportunity when no one else would. So,
Fair enough.
yeah, man.
All right. Well, thank you again.
No problem.
And this has been Big Rob's Little Podcast.